today I am on the road. I am in Detroit for a wedding, for a couple of interviews, for a couple of things. But I have some gentlemen here who have, they got a fight they're trying to promote. And I want to talk about, this is kind of related to content that I put out. And so I said, I'm going to give you guys the floor to tell me about what you got planned and what and why and where, and see what people think. So introduce yourselves, you guys, and tell them what you got going on.
All right, so I guess I'll go first. My name is Matt Granahan, nickname.
Oh, looks like Matt dropped off. I'll reintroduce him when he calls in. But in the meantime, my name is Bob Carson. I am the co-host of the new podcast Mob Chats with my aforementioned partner, Mr. Matthew Granahan. A little bit about myself is I'm an MMA fighter, veteran MMA podcaster, journalist. I've been covering the sport since 2005. Covered all the major organizations, interviewed many UFC champions, broken many stories in MMA, and now I've kind of ventured off into the mob genre, which, as you alluded to, is really popular, really hot. My co-host Matthew has really been entrenched in this genre for quite some time now, and we are working on putting together a fight, a fight between. Actually, two fights, actually. John Alite, who's a former Gambino crime associate, worked under John Gotti Jr. And he is trying to fight John Gotti Jr. Of course, they have a history together, obviously. If you read John Alite's book, Gotti's Rules. And John Gotti Jr.'s son, his name is John Gotti III. He's a very good MMA prospect out of New York. He's 5-1. We're trying to get him to fight with Phil Baroni. He called out Phil Baroni many years ago. And this.
Hey, Bob, can you hear me?
Yes, you're on.
Okay, sorry, I got cut off. So anyway, so I said King of Connecticut, the Granahan was competed in MMA, broadcaster, manager of fighters, did some pro wrestling over the years. And one of my old buddies is New York badass Phil Baroni. And we've had our ups and downs, from rocky roads. I got crazy Phil Baroni stories I can tell. But I want to get to the meat of it, which is Phil's background. A lot of people don't know about stuff we never talked about. I don't know how much Bob got into it, but Phil Baroni's father was a Gold Star detective, Phil Sr., who was Johnny Alite's partner with Gambino family. He told me years ago, the quote I always say that Phil's father said is, if you want to be a gangster, it's best to have a badge. And he was on both sides, and True. He ended up getting wrapped up in the Gotti Jr. trial. That's Phil Sr. And Phil Jr., his son, was a wild kid. Really wild kid. He lived with Johnny A for a while, with Johnny Alite, and he did scores with Johnny can tell you some of the stories. He used cradles, which was one of our things in wrestling, a lot of times to hold guys. They were notorious for robbing drug dealers, and they had drug dealers that they worked with. They had those that they robbed, and Phil was really big in that. And a lot of people don't realize Phil got stabbed up in the back of his head when he was wrestling at Hofstra, and he went out there to Michigan, where Gunner's from, and he went out and wrestled for Central Michigan. Had to get him out of there, and that was years ago. So people don't realize the Teflon Don's grandson, Gotti III, insane. The kid's getting nothing. He's not getting he's not promoting himself. But people don't even know. Fight fans don't even know he's fighting. John Gotti, I grew up right outside of this city in Long Island Sound. John Gotti was on all the papers. This kid's doing nothing to promote himself. He called out. Gotti III called Phil out years ago to fight him. Okay, people don't realize that. 5 years ago. Now his father, John A. Gotti Jr., is holding his son back. He's holding him back. We're trying to get this fight. The history is insane with the Gambino family. Phil's fought for major pay-per-views, Pride, UFC. So I was down at Larry Mazza's house, which isn't really far from where I am down here in Florida, and was hanging out over there, and he had John Alite on. he was on his podcast, and he was on your podcast that day too, Gunnar. I remember. And so I said to Larry, I said, "Hey, Larry, let me talk to John." And I started talking to John, and he says, and I said, "John, I know you had heat with Phil's father. We don't want to get into that, but I told him the idea." And then he told me, Johnny A told me, he said, "Look, I want to fight. I want to box Gotti Jr. I've wanted to box him for years." So I was doing Phil's promo work for a pro wrestling show up in Jersey, in Atlantic City, the Showboat. And Johnny came with me there. We did his promo, walk him to the ring, and we did a press conference with Bob and with Princeton University, and we called him out. Now, since that call out, this thing has exploded. This is why I started doing this mob chat show with Bob. This is all stuff you never talk about. You never talk about this. I would never speak out of school or talk about anybody I knew that was involved in any criminal activity. I'm not that kind of a person. But this stuff is documented. This is documented. And what happened was Sammy the Bull Gravano started commenting on our press conference, bashing it. And what he said was absolutely ridiculous.
What he say?
So stupid. He said, this is what he said, Gunnar. He said, in Cosa Nostra, we keep families out of it. You keep Gotti III. He said, me and John, you guys keep Gotti III's name out of your mouths. Yeah, right. First of all, Sammy the Bull Gravano is known in New York now as Sammy the Gavone Gravano. He has been for years. He put over 60 guys away. Everybody thinks about Gotti Jr. Nobody talks about what a freaking scumbag he is. When he was doing his ecstasy ring and Dan Severn, who's UFC Hall of Famer, a lot of people know him from the fight world. Dan Severn is going to tell a story. Bob's interviewing him this weekend, that Dan's told me many times about Sammy the Bull and the construction deal that they had before he got busted. When he was doing that ecstasy ring, he had nothing to do with Cosa Nostra. He's had nothing to do with the Gambino family for years. And
he took the stand, it was over.
Yeah, and Gotti III is his own man. His father has nothing to do with the Gambino family.
Why would Sammy the Bull be sticking up for Gotti III? Gotti III should say, "Shut up, you freaking worm! You put my freaking my grandpa in prison." You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And you know what I think it is, Gunnar? This world is nuts right now. All these guys that were rats, and Larry Mazza is a great friend of mine, but Larry's story is a lot different.
Yeah, it's
People
unique.
don't realize Larry was more cooperating against
the cop.
corrupt FBI agents, corrupt feds, corrupt FBI agents. So I think a lot of people are giving me heat, like about what's he doing with ratty guys. I said, look, there's not. I don't consider them ratty guys. I consider Larry Mazza a good friend. I consider Johnny Alite a friend. But Sammy the Bull Gravano, let's face it, these people, these freaking mob marks that listen to these shows, they have no idea. He's been out of the life for so long, and he's such a fucking dirtbag. I shouldn't swear, but he's such a freaking dirtbag. He's such a scumbag. And that's all I want to say. That's what started this show, Mob Chats. And we're going to be entertaining. We're going to mix combat sports, pro wrestling with I saw you had my good buddy Rob Van Dam. I got a great story about him and Phil Baroni from partying with them in Charlotte, North Carolina, a story that he told on Johnny Alite show, where we were closing the bar in Charlotte and Phil and I had a table right adjacent to his at the fan convention, and we were partying with these girls, and we closed the bar, and I refereed a match in the pond with RVD and Phil Baroni that were going at it, and RVD did a backflip and busted his face, and everybody thought Phil beat his ass the night before, and I had to tell everybody, no, that's not what happened. He did a flip. We were hammered. He could barely walk, and he could still do his backflip.
Yeah.
So I want to get all this stuff in real quick because my phone is dying, and I'll turn the rest over to Bob to talk about our awesome show.
Yeah, thank you for having us again, Gunnar. I didn't mention it earlier, but yeah, Vicky Gotti responded to Angel Gotti responded to our press conference. I believe Gene Gotti may have even released a statement, and still to this day, John Alite talks about this. John Alite wants to get in the ring. Let's not forget, according to Alite, John Jr., when he was in the military academy in upstate New York, was captain of the boxing team. We know John Alite has a history of boxing. He's boxed here in the United States, boxed when he was in prison in Brazil. And there's a huge market for this. I mean, the only thing that's standing in the way at this point is John Gotti Jr. John Gotti Jr. says he doesn't want John Alite to get any money or any notoriety or whatever that means off this fight. But I think a lot of people want to see this. And John Gotti III, as the King mentioned, called out Phil Baroni many years ago. This is a perfect fight for him, considering the family histories. Phil Sr., Phil Baroni Sr., Gold Star detective, actually was involved with Alite and some of the criminal activity that went on during Alite's run with the Gambinos. And Phil Baroni actually grew up down the street from John Alite, knows John Alite very, very well. He's a tough, scrappy kid, as you know, Phil Baroni. This makes perfect sense, and the iron is hot here. We continue to strike the iron here. We are really, really connecting dots between combat sports and MMA. Nobody's ever done this before. The link between Dan Severn and Sammy the Bull Romano, the links between organized crime, the Yakuza and Pride and MMA, guys like Don
Bob, Bob, not to interrupt you too much, but also guys that were collectors back home that were in pro wrestling and MMA, like Vito LaGrasso, also like Phil. There's quite a few guys. There's quite a few guys like that. Even Kevin Nash was a collector out there in your area and in Detroit. So there's a huge overlap between the two worlds. It goes all the way back to Lenny Montana, the original Godfather movie. He was a Colombo guy. He played
Luca Brasi.
In The Godfather, he played. I can't remember the character name.
Luca Brasi.
Luca Brasi, yeah, Luca Brasi. Yeah, so we're marrying these two worlds together, and they're worlds that really should be married together because we feel like this podcast genre is exploding with the mob podcast genre.
Well,
I think
it's
it's crazy.
You a couple of questions. So by the way, I have a quick funny story. There was an underground fighting ring. I was a tough guy in Detroit. I won't get into like all the fights and stuff like that. People tried to push me into MMA all the time. It really wasn't my thing. I was just about pussy. I also had plans to play football. I just wanted to get laid, fight. But there was this black dude who ran like a underground fighting circuit in Detroit. And he ran it. He was a high roller, dude had big money, and guys would come in and they would literally go in a basement. There'd be 20, 30 guys betting, and it would be straight fists, and guys get hurt real bad. The guy did everything but beg me to go in there because he's like, I keep hearing your name as this freaking badass in the neighborhood, and everybody thinks you're like undefeatable or whatever. He's like, you're a white boy. If I put you in there, everybody's gonna bet against the other guy. He's like, I'll freaking win a fortune. He's like, I gotta win $100,000 in one night. I'll give you $20,000 to fight.
Oh yeah.
I thought about it. I'm like, nah, man. Because here's the thing. Here's what's gonna happen. I know me. I'm going to go there and probably kill the guy. Or if I'm in that with fists like this, I'm saying no gloves, no nothing. I feel threatened. I'm just going to pulverize the guy. Now, what if I kill the guy and I get a case? Or his boys are in there and I hurt the dude real bad. Now they want to shoot me on the way out or jump me or whatever. This is Detroit. So I told the dude, nah, I'm good on that, man. I passed. Plus my face. I was like, I like my face the way it looks. I'm ugly enough. I don't need any more freaking damage to my face. So, but he begged me. He offered me $20,000 to go in a basement and fight. 20 G's. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, that's
I had
awesome.
money, so. Huh?
That's awesome. Gunnar, that reminds me too. I did a great book years ago with Eric Paulson, Rough and Tumble. And that's how fighting came out of. It used to be the Smokers fights that Frankie Kane fought, and he was one of the guys we featured in our book. It's a great history book on the history of MMA and history of grappling. And the Smokers fights with Frankie Kane is the same way. And there's a league in Jersey that Bob is actually working on getting our podcasts on their channel. My phone is literally about to shut off. So Bob, you could tell him about that league in Jersey, the Underground Fights.
Well, I want to know this though. Here, wait. Let me interrupt. I don't want to lose you before I ask you. So you got a podcast and it's called Mob Chat. What makes your show more interesting than mine or the next guy or the next guy? Because there's all these little podcasts, mob podcasts popping up.
Yep. I'm going to tell you why.
All they do is say the same thing over and over, and they get they get a couple thousand people to follow, and they're the same kind of worshipers.
We're not doing interviews. We're not doing traditional interviews. We're blending promos and feuds.
They don't.
And we're bringing the flair, the crazy flair to it. We're doing live events. I just did a live show with Larry Mazza down in Florida. We're supposed to be doing another one tomorrow night. I'm waiting to hear back about it. We're gonna bring the excitement level way up. Not like, the guy that I make fun of is that Jimmy Calandra? My name is Jimmy Calandra. I went up the block to collect some money from this guy. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We love heat. At least I do. I think Bullet Bob loves heat too. Bullet Bob Carson. I'm a heel. I've always been a heel. I was a heel in MMA, heel in pro wrestling. Look at all my commentaries on the Hannibal TV, Canada's Top Combat Sports podcast. People hate me, and I love it. I love to be hated. So bring the heat. This is going to be a much different kind of show.
All right, so you're gonna bring the heat. You're gonna make this whole genre a kind of a spectacle. I'll be happy to do your show. I'm not really interested in being a spectacle, but I'll give you some, a little bit of history. I'll tell you a couple stories. That's what I can do for you.
Love it. We'd love to have you on, man. That would be fantastic.
Cool. I'm down. So. That's
can I tell a quick story before I get this in? Quick Phil Baroni strip club story. So this kind of relates to the kind of stuff we're going to tell on our show. So as guys, we go to strip clubs, right? And we're used to going to the strip club and then coming out with less money. The strippers take our money. So I go to the strip club with Phil. We had just done a seminar in the day, and this is I won't say the name obviously, but it's in South Carolina. A lot of hillbillies down there. We go to this club. The guy that manages the club that's bouncing at it, he's a local amateur fighter. He was I had actually cornered a guy against him. He loved Phil. Phil was like his hero. So bottom line is, I got this hot Honduran chick.
Dropped off.
Oh, there goes this fun. Right at the best part, too. Nice cliffhanger. So I got this hot Honduran chick. Bang. He's gone.
Yeah.
I've heard probably YouTube censoring it. Like, oh, no, he's going to say something that's very alpha male and very that may offend the betas and the LGBT community. So we're just going to cut him off here.
Yeah. Censorship and this job. But to your point, listen, we are going to bring the theatrics. We are going to bring different elements to this podcast and make a lot of waves, as we have already with just the brief stuff that we've done. Pro wrestling, MMA, all this stuff is going to be intertwined. No holds barred analysis, commentary, call outs. Matthew's got a lot of things planned for me as far as fighting. Different matches, different style type of matches and whatnot. So, the sky is the limit, man. As you know, this is a very, very popular genre. And to your point, there is a lot of podcasts out there, but you got to differentiate yourself from the competition. You got to offer something bold and different, and go there. We also have all the players too, as Matthew mentioned: Johnny Alite, Larry Mazza, George Anastasia. I'm due to interview George Anastasia when he comes back from vacation next week. I'm going to go up to Philly, and interview some of his contacts up there, from his extensive reporting on the mob. Multiple best-selling, award-winning George Anastasia. He was the author of the book Gotti.
I'm friends with George. I've talked to him.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy, fascinating guy. He's also got a guy named Angelo Lutz out there. Who's got
you'll want to get Bernstein involved. So because Scott Bernstein is the kind of he's right there with George Anastasia, but in my opinion, he's better than George Anastasia because George Anastasia is so hyper New York and like Philly or whatever focus, where Scott Bernstein is Detroit, Chicago, Philly, some New York, but it's not really thing. New York bores him because all it is primarily is cooperators, and everybody knows the story because it's all public. It's been in the news, the papers, their podcasts, whatever. But Scott, I'm sure, and Scott is also a huge sports guy. He actually has a sports column for the Oakland Press in Detroit. And so anything like he's a super brainiac. I mean, I bet you he knows the name of every current MMA fighter in the business because he's a genius like that. He knows every name, every place, everything. So if you'll want to contact him, I can put you in contact. I had dinner with him last night, and I put you in contact with.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's my boy. Yeah, so I put you in contact with him. But again, here's the thing: if you guys don't bring the flair, if you don't bring something unique and different, you'll crash and burn. And the reason for it is, and here's the main reason. There's a couple of reasons, and people will be annoyed by this next comment. But so the mob genre, it's not nearly as big as you think. There are 10, 12,000 like people who are interested in it, pretty fascinated in it. Past that, the people, if you can get to the mainstream people, which is like Sammy the Bull might have 250,000, or and Francis may have 700, 600,000, but there's only about 10,000 diehard groupie ones, and those are the ones you don't want. And the reason for them, they have no money. They're not spending money on nothing. They just live on YouTube and troll and comment and start trouble and say, this guy said that, he said that, I believe he's this guy didn't do this guy's more mobster than that guy, and that guy's a bigger gangster than him, and he didn't do this, but he said that, and I know this guy. Those guys, stay away from them. Don't cater to that market. They're worthless. They have no money. They're not buying nothing. It's that other 90% that's above and beyond, that are more mainstream people who are not really, they don't know much about the mob, but it's kind of a fascinating subject and it interests them. Obviously, MMA too is a big market. So like you said, you can meld them together and create a platform that interests that body of the market. Like Michael Francis, he's got 600,000 subscribers, not because he's freaking talking about the mob crap all the time. 690,000 of them don't give a shit about the mob all the time. You know what they like? They like Michael Francis because he's smooth, he's charismatic, he's charming, he's inspirational, he's intelligent. So he's got a big market of people who are intellectuals, intelligent. They have disposable income that go on his Patreon. They have disposable income to buy T-shirts and to buy books and to buy movies. So that should be your target market. Don't target primarily focus on this obsessed mob genre, the ones who sit there all night, every night, listening to this podcast, talk about that podcast, who talks about this podcast, who talks about that guy, who talks about this guy, who talks about, there's like 10 of them, and or less, and all they do is say the same crap about the same people all the time, and they're always fighting and bickering and calling names and calling this guy out and that guy out, and it's really, that you don't want to be another one of those, is what I'm saying. Don't be that guy.
Listen, no, I appreciate it because this is new to me. Matthew's been involved with this a little longer. This is absolutely new to me. But and I'm sort of one of those people you talk about, the fans that don't have a lot of money and whatnot, a keen interest in the mob and the mob figures and whatnot. But it's good to listen to somebody like yourself who knows exactly what you're talking about. Has been doing this a while and sort of learn what direction.
Well, I think you're not. Here's the thing: you're not one of those 10,000. You may have an interest in the Mafia and find it fascinating, but if somebody told you, yo, Gunner's book, I read it, it's outstanding, the 5-star reviews are real, it's an incredible story, it's a fictional Mafia family in Detroit, you got to check it out, it's $20, but I'm telling you, buy it, you'll be glad you did, you would probably buy it. Yeah. And I own Art Thing Apparel, so we have dope gear, and like the back of our everything I have, we sell. It's got your city. Like I'm from Detroit, so mine says Detroit on it. But if you're from Jersey or where you're from, yours would say Jersey. Yeah. Now you're like, oh, that's a dope shirt. This is that athletic poly shirt, kind of Under Armour type of shirt. So you're like, wow, $30. That's a dope shirt. Got my city on the back. I'll buy that. $30. I don't think you're so broke that you can't buy a $20 book or a $30 shirt. That's something you like. It's Our Thing Apparel. Looks gangster. So you're not that. You're the demographic more that I'm targeting. Somebody who has a little income or disposable income. But I mean, I'm after the educated 6-figure intellectual who goes on YouTube during their lunch break or when they're taking a dump because they got nothing better to do, or when they're bored on their way home from work or whatever, driving their commute, and they're like, yo, I'm going to check out Gunner. Gunner's always got something funny to say or interesting. He's got great stories, clicks it on the YouTube, and he drives for an hour and listens. Go, yeah, I love this freaking guy. I got to get this guy's book. Now, the guy who sits in his mom's basement all day, going back and forth from YouTube channel to YouTube channel to YouTube channel, so he can comment, troll, hate this guy, like that guy, hate this guy, trolling this guy, tell this guy that he's a loser, but I could beat you up, or Sammy Bull could beat you up. He's a bigger gangster than you, but not as big as a gangster because he's the biggest gangster of all. And then did he rap? Well, doesn't matter. He's a bigger gangster than you. I'm like, I mean, that's how they act. They're super immature. That ain't your target. So as you're marketing your platform, do yourself a favor and just stay away from those. Just say, I'm after, you want a target market that can actually spend disposable income on, let's say, fighting tickets. Well, they pay to go see a fight, an event, a pay-per-view, whatever. Most of these kids, these little gremlins who live with their parents in their parents' basement, they don't got 2 nickels to rub together. If they get an extra $20 from their welfare check, they're buying a blunt, or they're buying a new video game, or some porn they can download. They're not spending it on a book, a pay-per-view fight, nothing like that. So keep in mind, stay away from them. Target the ones that are the mid-level, educated middle Americans who have an interest in this stuff like you do. And if you can pique their interest with characters, like your partner, he's a character. You don't have to necessarily make everybody not like him. I mean, I'm kind of a character. I'm a unique character. Some people don't like me, and I tell them, don't watch me. Most people like me. They really enjoy me. They're like, dude, I could tell you come from that way in that streets and you went through hell. You lived that life, and then you went to prison. You spent 13 years in prison. Now you're a best-selling author, a popular novelist. I enjoy your YouTube content. I think your apparel's cool. I'm with you. That's the one. But now you want to build up your market to where you can get 10, 20, 50,000, 100,000 subscribers doing the same. The fact that Michael Francis and Sammy the Bull have them numbers is very it's telling and it's compelling. Meaning, if Sammy the Bull, this huge gigantic freaking informant who just burned the whole New York mob, could still have 350,000 people watching his YouTube shows and be like, yeah, I'm cool with that. That means that anybody can have anything. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of people who hate Sammy the Bull. They won't watch him. A lot of people hate Sammy the Bull and do watch him tell us little stories. There's a lot of people think Calandra's a freaking dunce, but they watch him, and some people really like the guy. They like his stories. Some people think I'm a dunce, and a lot of people like my stories. The key is finding your niche, your people, but just know that they're out there. The market is there. You want the Michael Francis market. The market, his 550,000 people above the say 40, 50,000, like kind of mob obsessed. That's the market you want for your show. But you got to make it interesting. Yeah. And it has to be fresh. It has to be new. You have to have good content and good characters. The same old rehash. And Lee Cole said this about Fat Bold Sicilian, and this guy said that. And Johnny Alite is now beefed out with John Gotti and blah, blah, blah. That's bold. I mean, that's old. Nobody gives a shit. So you got to change it, make it new. I like the fight, though. I think this kid, this Gotti kid, should take that fight in Phil Baroni. And what the hell? Maybe he beats Baroni's ass and becomes finally makes something in freaking Baroni's an old man.
That's what would happen. And we're trying, I mean, between my contacts in MMA and Granahan's contacts in MMA, we have UFC legends, UFC Hall of Famers that are appearing on a show that are interested in whatnot. And that's a big difference that separates us and the rest of the podcast. But yeah, to your point, Gotti III is a legit prospect, and it bothers us on a personal level. It's not that we're just trying to get publicity or trying to stir up things between Alite and Junior. It bothers us on a personal level that this kid is obscure. He's not doing anything. He's not fighting for a major MMA organization, and he should be. And that's because of his father, and that's because he's being held back by.
He could be getting big paychecks.
Yeah,
I mean, unless he's a bomb, can he fight?
Yes, yeah, he's a very good prospect. He's got knockout power. He's a good tall kid. He lost a lot of weight. He usually fights at 170. He's got a lot of tattoos. He's got the look. He was supposed to be on a UFC show. I think the Contenders or one of those shows, UFC Fight Pass. He was supposed to fight on UFC Fight Pass. It fell through. He hasn't fought in about 2 years or so. And every day that goes by, it's a waste. It's wasted talent. And
it makes you wonder. And I don't say this with any malice at all, but it makes you wonder. Like, what are you thinking, kid? Is he using drugs, or you got caught with a girl? I mean, what are you doing, bro? This is your career. You're letting it go by. You have an opportunity. You have that name. You got a 1 in a million opportunity that everybody else doesn't have. You're a Gotti. Go out there,
Yeah.
fight. It'll draw a card. You'll get a pay-per-view. You get a big fat paycheck. And if you're selling dope in the streets or shaking people down or doing whatever you're doing, what are you doing? You could easily get a freaking $200,000-$300,000 paycheck from a fight, bro.
Look at this. Look at this pay-per-view market. Look at the Triller market, this pay-per-view market, where they're bypassing the UFC, they're bypassing these major organizations, and putting celebrity-driven fights on pay-per-views. And if you believe the numbers, Jake Paul or Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather, over a million pay-per-view buys. If you believe the stuff, and I do believe a lot of it, it's generating a lot of publicity and a lot of money for those, that are participating. Nate Roberts.
Yeah, that Paul dude's a bum. Are you kidding me? I mean, if you put him in there with a freaking equally matched weight size MMA guy, he gets demolished. He don't last a round. Of course, you put him in there with a freaking 50-pound freaking Mighty Mouse, you got a chance. You know what I'm saying? Because you got 70 pounds on him or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you won't put. I tell you what. You won't put Floyd Mayweather in a ring with a 220-pound boxer, a 220-pound MMA. Yes, this freaking celebrity, freaking Logan Paul. Yeah, not saying that he's completely worthless as a fighter, but if you put him in there with a real MMA fighter, I don't think Logan Paul lasts freaking 30 seconds, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it's interesting because I mean it's boxing, and he's due to fight Tyron Woodley, who's a former welterweight UFC champion. And I do give him credit; he's taken boxing seriously. He's actually a decent boxer. But your point is well taken. If he goes against a decent boxer or a decent striker, he will lose. But the point is that people are buying this celebrity-driven boxing and fighting. That's the point. They may not be the best in the world. It doesn't matter. That's what's generating as a market. Dana White even admitted himself there's a huge market for that. People don't want to spend $70, $80 every month for a UFC pay-per-view. They'll buy a Triller pay-per-view, which sometimes can be $70, $80 once every 2 or 3 months for these celebrity fights. You got a lot of celebrities. Snoop Dogg, Pete Davidson was involved with this. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We're joined by the King now. I see you've reconnected.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? I want to finish that story. I'm back in the car. I'm trying to charge this phone. So anyway, back to the strip club story. I'll do this real quick.
Hungarian girl,
the manager of the club. I got the hot Honduran on my lap, right? And so the manager, big fan of Baroni's. The kid was a huge Phil Baroni mark. So Phil comes over to me. He grabs me by the shoulder. He says, "We got to get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Get up." And he's pulling on me. And I said, "Why? What's going on?" He goes, "Go, let's go." So we go towards the door, and these two strippers are right behind him, and they're screaming. They're like, they're screaming towards this manager coming towards the door, and they go, "He robbed us. That guy robbed us. That guy robbed." So the manager goes. He was a huge fan of Phil's. He goes, "How dare you speak that way about my special guest, about my friend?" And he said, "You two girls, get dressed, get changed. You're out of here. Go home." So me and Phil go in the car. And Phil goes, he fist bumps the guy. He goes, "Oh, thank you, bro. Had a great time, bro. Had a great time." So Phil's got on like, fuck.
What?
His phone.
No good. I know what he's going to say. He came right to the gist of the story. I don't want to blow it, but let's just say it involves a lot of money.
I robbed strippers, dude. I had strippers who worked in the strip club who would give me heads up when there were guys in there with money, and then me and my cousin would follow them and we'd rob them, we'd bump them, or we'd follow them to wherever they went. Basically, as soon as they pulled up anywhere, we'd jump out with shotguns and masks. We robbed them in the store. But I did rob strippers a couple times when I was kind of like on the renegade tip. I was low. I was just like, I'm sitting in the strip club hunting high rollers in the strip club, and these real nice high-end strip clubs on 8 Mile in Detroit. And I saw this chick, right? And she was getting like this party of old businessmen. And I watched her. She must have got, $3,000, $4,000 from these dudes. And she happened to be leaving right when I was leaving. She jumped in a white BMW. And so I follow her. And so I follow her on 8 Mile and then get up behind her and like bang her with my Mustang bumper, boom. And I'm like, oh, sorry, pull over, my bad. and she pulls over off to the side of the road, and I pulled out. I had a huge pistol. I had a 44 Desert Eagle automatic, 44, and I walked up to the window because she started to get out to see if there's a bumper, like anything wrong with her bumper, and I pulled the pistol out. I said, "Get back in the car," and she's like, and I she got in the car. She's like, oh. I said, "Give me your purse," and she's just like, "Please don't shoot, please don't shoot." She hands me the purse. I just walked back to the car and just left her. Well, horrible thing to do, horrible. But in my mind, I justified it being like, you just robbed these old men for like $3-4 grand.
Yeah.
So I robbed you, you know. Yeah. I know what she had the nerve to say to me, though. This is unbelievable. I never told this story on my YouTube channel, and I need to tell it. She says, "Do you know who my boyfriend is?" She's like, when I tell my boyfriend, you're in trouble. And I cocked the hammer on the pistol, and I pointed at her. I said, "You can tell your boyfriend to come find me anytime." And she's like, and I told her my name too. I didn't say my last name. I just said, "My name's Al. Tell your boyfriend to come find me." I said, "I'll give him this." I cocked the pistol and pointed at her head. I said, "Now get the frick out of here." But, you know, dude, she had the nerve to say, "Do you know who my boyfriend is?" I never found out who her boyfriend was. I just hope he wasn't a wise guy. I just hope he wasn't somebody like connected to somebody that was connected to me. Because I've done that too and got in trouble where I'd not robbed a stripper, but I'd shaken down a business owner, a Polish guy who owned a deli in Hamtramck, and I was extorting him. And then it turned out that guy was already paying protection to the underboss of the family. Well, one of the underboss's guys. And so I get called in by the underboss, and I didn't think it was anything. And I thought it was just another kind of, I didn't really know the guy that well. And when my grandpa said Tony wanted to see you, I thought it was a little weird, but he had a restaurant. So I thought I was going to go pick up food, and they had to go in the back, and there was just like meeting. And Tony Giacalone and these big shots there, Tony Bomarito. And so everybody in the room was named Tony except the bodyguard. And then he told me, told me what I was doing was in the wrong. And I'm like, I didn't know. Like, well, you didn't know because you didn't ask. I'm like, well, I got to ask for everything I got to do. And they're like, yes, you do. Anyway, so I hope that these guys take the fight. I'm not sure that Johnny Alite and the John Gotti Jr. fight will ever happen. Yeah, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it happen. But here's the thing, man. They're two old men. Alite's got a heart condition. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's kind of stupid. I mean, if they gave him 6 months to train, and both of them, the 6 months to train, and they got a big paycheck, and they went in there and slugged it out a little bit, that could be great for everybody, money-wise, whatever. I'd pay to see it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, a lot of people pay to see it. A lot of people pay to see it. But I just don't think right now John Alite's in any condition to be fighting anybody. Here's the thing, though. I'll fight. I'm in pretty good shape. So if one of these douchebag troll haters, whatever, freaking, there's a bunch of haters and trolls and stuff. They all they talk trash on the keyboard and talk trash on their YouTube show, and they all want to talk gangster and tough. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I'm 5'11", 230. I train 3 times a week. I get in the ring with one of these freaking guys who are talking tough. Put $100 grand down, he don't last the round. Because I'm breaking every bone in his body. I'm going straight for the freaking ribs, breaking them, and then when they drop guard, I'm breaking their jaw. I can fight real good. I learned how to box. My uncle Sal Toko was a boxing trainer. I don't have the stamina, so if you can get me into the second, third round, you got a chance, but I won't let you get me into the second, third round. You know what I'm saying? You're either going to be tapped out or knocked out. So if you can give me a big enough paycheck, I'll even do it to where it's charity. Like I'll even do it to where most of the paycheck is charity. So I win. The purse goes to this charity, my Christian charity of choice. You win, goes to whatever charity you want to do. But I don't really want to be fighting. I'm an old man, you know what I'm saying? And I know that you're going to get tweaks and injuries and stuff like that fighting. But the truth is I've been in more fights than I care to admit, or most people would ever believe. And I know how to end a fight real fast. So my fights usually aren't really fights. They're just me friggin' throwing 4 or 5 punches at the most, and it's over. So I'm pretty powerful. Yeah. The average guy who's not a real fighter, they don't know how to react to extreme aggression. So when a guy comes in with my size and power using extreme aggression, they just fold up and kind of cover up. And then I have my way with them. You know what I'm saying? And then then that's it. Most guys don't even know how to guard. You know, they just kind of cover their face. I can knock you out while you're in guard. Easy. So I just come around, bam, I'll get you. Anyways, I'd be up for that. But I hope you guys do well.
Thank you, man. Well, listen, we appreciate coming on your show. I've heard so many great things about. I've researched you and congratulate you on all your success. Anything you could do to lend this advice, help us in the future would be greatly appreciated. I want to encourage everybody to go to our YouTube channel, just type in Mob Chats and subscribe, watch our videos. You can friend us on Facebook, Matthew Granahan on Facebook, and look up Bob Carson on Facebook, and keep in touch, man. We've got a lot of guests coming up. We have merchandise planned for release in the future. We got a ton of people, as I mentioned, and we're very optimistic and excited working with UFC Hall of Famers, UFC fighters, champions, former champions, you name it. We're doing it right here on Mob Chat. So thank you so much, Kenny.
Yeah, start a Mob Chats Facebook page to differentiate it all from everybody else, So it's just that page, and probably an Instagram one too, and then Mob Chats your YouTube. But anyways, I'll get this out there. You gotta send this over to me, and I'll get it published, and we'll try to get some traction, man. Good luck, some following for you.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. God bless, man.
Yep. We in here now.